I'm not interested in being in control of what I'm doing entirely because I want to be danced. I want this other energy to move through me. And if I'm held and controlled, that can never happen. If I'm on the other side, then there's that tension doesn't exist between being here and being gone.
In this episode of Insights at the Edge, my guest is Banafsheh Sayyad, master Iranian sacred dancer, choreographer, transformational teacher, and founder of Dance of Oneness. She is a trailblazing human, an innovator of Sufi dance forms, previously only performed by men. Banafsheh invokes the ancient roots of dance, devotion, prayer, and adoration. She's taught Persian dance at UCLA, toured and performed internationally with her dance company, Nama, has created a film with Andrew Harvey on dancing Rumi's Journey of the Soul. The film's called In the Fire of Grace. And she's the author of a new Sounds True book. It's called Dance of Oneness, Embody Love and Luminosity to Transform Your Life. Banafsheh, welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much, Tami. It's so wonderful to have this opportunity to speak with you.
In learning more about your personal story, what I learned was that it wasn't easy. It was quite a journey for you to claim your life and career as a dancer. Tell us about that.
Yes, I've always loved to dance since I was very little. The earliest memories I have of myself is dancing. But because I come from Iran that has been dominated by Islam for such a long time, even though my parents are not religious people, it was sort of in the psyche of everyone that dance is not a high art because that's how Islam sees it. Islam sees dance as sinful. So I didn't get any training when I was a little girl, but I trained myself. I knew that this is what my passion was, and I just had this burning desire to express through dance and movement. So I trained myself. And even when we immigrated to the United States, having been forced to immigrate because of the Islamic takeover of 1979, I still met with resistance when I announced dance would be my career because people couldn't really conceive of what I was talking about. There weren't really any role models in my culture, any women who had blazed the career in dance at all. So I met with a lot of resistance, but I knew that I didn't come here to listen to what others think. How others think I should lead my life. So I pursued dance anyway, and it became my life.
One of the things I'm always interested in is how someone who has such a strong sense of calling knows and claims the calling. How would you say for you were confronted with this and you knew it? How did that happen for you?
I always knew it, Tami. As a little girl, this was what I loved, and every opportunity I got, I would make dance with friends, and perform them for our families, perform them for whoever was interested to watch. And I just knew over the years as I got older that this was what I was meant to do, even though I had no support except from my little sister, from my younger sister. Nobody else supported. Everybody said, "Oh yes, you're such a good dancer, but you didn't start training from when you were a little girl." And I was like, well, I was ready. Um, I just had I just knew that there was a reason, there was a passion in my heart, and that this was how spirit was guiding me, regardless of what others were saying.
I want to ask you about your work in this moment in time. We're recording this together in the beginning of March 2026, when there is a war happening in Iran, your home country. And I wonder how you see your calling, your heart's calling, and how you've devoted your whole life to it as a gift, if you will, as an offering, if you will, to your biological lineage and then the Sufi heritage that you pay tribute to through your dance. How you see that at this time?
Yes, this is a very difficult time for me. As I speak to you, my heart is absolutely broken. Every bomb that hits my country, every bomb that is sent out of my country breaks my heart anew. It's war is awful, awful. But at the same time, I hold the possibility that what will come out of this is for our benefit, because actually the war that we are now witnessing was begun by the Islamic Republic on its own people, on its own citizens. Upward of 40,000 people were massacred in the span of just a few days in February and in January, sorry, and continued into February. And so many more maimed and imprisoned unjustly, and families under pressure to not speak about the atrocities. This war was started by them, and people were calling for help. And this is what came. It's very, as I said, terrible and heartbreaking to witness it. But I'm holding the possibility that this will lead to a good outcome, even though right now it's so difficult. And through dance, I invite the people around me. I'm putting on sessions where I'm asking people to join and release the grief and the anxiety that they have through movement, to open themselves for a finer energy to fill our hearts and fill our bodies, so that we can contribute positively to the outcome, really uplifting ourselves and not staying in the fear and the worry that can only just make things worse.
Tell us about the origin of Dance of Oneness. This dance form, could you call it a form that you founded?
Yes, I call it a modality. And it is a bringing together of everything that I trained in, and also this desire to really express and guide people into an expression that applied to the whole human being, all the faces of the human being. So I draw actually from the traditions that I studied, and form them into three streams, three interrelated streams that come together and inform this modality. The first stream is dance and movement technique, drawing from flamenco, from Persian dance, from Tai Chi, and from the Sufi whirling primarily, bringing those together um, as representative of the different sides, different faces of the human. The second stream is wisdom teachings, drawing from the Sufi, the Taoist, and the divine feminine traditions. And the third stream is healing. And in this stream, I draw from my background in Chinese medicine. I'm also an acupuncturist and herbalist, and the chakra system, and other forms of energy medicine. So all three streams coming together to guide us into embodying ourselves more fully, to bring the body and soul together into harmony instead of them being separate.
And if my understanding's correct, this naming Dance of Oneness came to you while you were whirling. Is that true?
It is true. It is true. I was asking what could my form be called? What would be the proper way to refer to it? And this is the name that came to me. And I feel because I have lived in different cultures, and as someone who had to leave her homeland and acquire from different ways of being, that it made sense that this would be called Dance of Oneness, bringing all of my experiences into a oneness, into a into a unity, but also inviting people to unify themselves through movement, through intentional movement.
The modality brings together, as you've mentioned, these different streams. Yet I have to say, personally, as I was reading Dance of Oneness, I lit up, especially when you were writing about the whirling dance form, the whirling experience. Maybe because, you were talking about when you were a kid and how you naturally like to dance. Well, I naturally like to just spin around in a circle. I don't know, as a kid, just
Hmm.
kind of what, come on, Tammy. So anyway, I'm just naturally drawn to it.
Hmm.
And I read you went on a 40-day whirling experience. I was like, what? I've heard of people going on dark retreats. I've heard of fasts. I've never heard of 40 days of whirling. So tell me about that.
Yes, yes. So it is said that Rumi himself did a few sessions of extended whirling where he would whirl for day and night, and I totally believe it that he would be able to whirl without stopping for hours and hours. Uh, so this person that I met, Uruj Guvenj, decided that he wanted to also extend this tradition that Rumi had started, and create a situation where people can come together and dedicate themselves to whirling for an extended period. So he began with 3-day retreats, and then he moved on to 40 and even longer. Uh, so to be involved in that was incredible for me. A group of people coming together to dedicate themselves to turning and playing live music as well, because that's just a great synergy. Uh, it was incredible, really, to be able to spend as long as you could whirling and coming together with people, like-hearted people, creating this field of really harmony and peace.
There's a natural trance state that emerges from whirling that you write about. And I wonder if you can say more about that. What kind of natural trance state do you get into when you're whirling?
It's so fascinating that you're just turning around yourself, and it's just a repetitive style of movement, but every time is different. Every time the experience is somehow unique. And what I can say for sure is that what happens is that the mind grows still. You sort of go beyond the thinking mind. And as the aim of the whirling is to open yourself as a channel for blessings into the world, truly your body begins to open as a channel, and you receive guidance. Uh, as you mentioned, you asked me about whether I received the name Dance of Oneness while whirling. That was a form of guidance. Uh, so the trance state is that I've experienced through in whirling is a stepping into the unknown, into a place that is something that I haven't experienced before. In As you know, as your listeners probably know, Rumi's poetry flowered and fountained through him as he whirled, and his friends and followers wrote them down. So you experience a trance state that then becomes very orderly. It has an incredible sense of new order, if I can call it that. First, it might feel chaotic, and then it becomes very orderly, a kind of order that you're not directing. It just happens to you.
I want to talk more about this, and I'm going to read a quote from Dance of Oneness about this combination, if you will, of surrendering in the form, but also having a form, what you refer to as a sturdy chalice. I really like that. Here's what you wrote. What matters most to me is not how I can impress or how great I can appear, but how open I can be to what seeks to move through me. I'm drawn to this because it brings me into communion with the unknown, which is what I dance for. Yet I remain equally rooted in the known, technique, structure, and form. The more disciplined your body, the more you can surrender to the unknowable and serve as its instrument. That's what I wanted to have you share more about, because I think whether it's dancing or it's another form of a meditation practice or spiritual practice or writing or just how we live our lives, people often are looking for that alchemy, if you will, between discipline and surrender.
Mhm. Yes. So I'm interested in how they come together. I would describe my dance as 100% discipline, 100% surrendered. Both of them are so important because the more discipline you have, the more you've dedicated yourself to cultivating your vessel, your chalice, the more you can receive, the more you are able to surrender. They sort of go together. Um, I feel sometimes I've come across people that say, "Oh, just surrender, just let go." The more you have discipline, the more you have technique in the case of dance, the more you're able to surrender and not injure yourself. The more you're able to persevere, the longer the surrender lasts. And the more you can then be experience yourself as a messenger of the invisible, the unknown in the world, in physicality. uh, what whirling puts us in touch with is that it puts us in touch with, in a very tangible way, that there's a unified field, a field of love, a field, the quantum field that scientists refer to, that you can access, and it can move through you, and you can sense how your individual unit of consciousness sort of dissolves into that, and and becomes its messenger.
When it comes to being a sturdy chalice, what is the training that Dance of Oneness dancers need to have?
The training of being grounded, centered, open in the heart, and really in touch with how your body is a channel, and that the more you're able to unblock this channel, the more the whirling brings you gifts, the more you can surrender. So I really take people through the chakras, the energy centers, and we spend time in opening the chakras, embodying them, and also strengthening ourselves. So definitely a strong center is needed, definitely a rooted energy, really sensing the ground with your feet. And from that foundation to open and be able to receive. And once you're letting your movement emanate from your center, everything, your upper body, your limbs, your arms, your head, the energy emanating from your center into these parts of your body, the more you cultivate that sturdy channel, the more you can persevere. Because just like any form of meditation, in whirling, we need to persevere. We need to be able to last for us to really experience the gifts of this practice.
You mentioned that you combined in Dance of Oneness everything you learned, including your study of Tai Chi and Chinese medicine. And at one point in describing the whirling practice, you wrote about how the movement starts from the lower belly, from our dantian, the space in the lower belly. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting. So when you're describing moving from our center, is that what you mean, moving from the lower belly?
Exactly, absolutely. The human home, our human home, is the dantian, and in women, the dantian is the uterus, is the womb, and even for women who who have had their uterus removed, the energy is still there. It's the dantian that can be cultivated, like a sun that, whose rays emanate in the whole body and out through the body.
Part of the organizing structure of the Dance of Oneness book is you're writing about the upward moving current, the ascent of energy in the body, and the downward current and their marriage at the heart. And I wonder if you could describe that. You ready for this? In your own experience, even right now, as we're sitting here and talking, if you were to tune into that, how you experience, if you do, an upward and descending current and the meeting place of the heart.
Yes, I love that. I love your question. So I do experience it now that you also brought it up. I'm reminded of it, but it's much more readily experienced when you're dancing or when you're standing and moving with the intention of coming in touch with the rising energy and the descending energy and how they marry in the heart. Many traditions of movement really focus only on the rising energy, only on the ascent. And I feel some of that has to do with the desire to transcend the body that we have inherited from so many of the patriarchal mystical systems, that the body is something to transcend, it's a burden to the soul. So this naturally wanting to up, rise up, and let the energy go up is only one side of the picture. We need to also have the descending energy. So the ascending energy to me feels like the feminine rising up to the masculine, and then the descending energy is the masculine coming toward the feminine, and then the marriage in the heart, where the two energies are combined and fused. And then as I'm speaking to you, I'm coming in touch with both of these energies, moving down and moving up. And then I'm expressing through my heart, holding both.
And just to understand clearly, the whirling form, traditionally women were not allowed to be dervishes. Is that correct? Like at the time of Rumi, there were no female dervishes?
There were absolutely female dervishes, but and we say darvish in Persian. Dervish,
Darvish, thank you.
dervish is also absolutely spoken. That's the Turkish pronunciation, and it's more prevalent. Uh, they were absolutely women dervishes, but because the whole practice of whirling was something that to Islam was not so well regarded, because after all, it is a dance. So the presence of women dervishes were underplayed. They were not spoken about, because already a ceremony of music and dance would be something that wouldn't sit very well with the Islamic clergy. And so, and saying beyond that, that women are also present would make them even more suspicious and try to close down the ceremony. But there were women dervishes.
I'm interested in you, Banafsheh, as well as Dance of Oneness. And when I learned that the first dance form that you formally studied was flamenco, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I don't really know very much about flamenco dance. I wonder why Banafsheh started doing flamenco dance. And then I read more about how it was a journey for you into a type, this is my language, but a type of power as a sensual woman with a lot of containment and strength and sovereignty in the form. And that flamenco was originally a solo dance form as much as a partner dance form. And I was like, wow, I need to understand more about flamenco, basically.
So, Tammy, when I found flamenco, we had just uh, immigrated from Iran. We were political asylees in the United States, and I carried so much grief and so much anger. I didn't want to leave Iran, but I didn't have a choice. I was a young teenager. I had to leave, but the grief and the anger that I had within me, I had no output for it. I didn't know how to express it. And when I found flamenco, it was like, yes, this is the form that speaks to me, because I could see that the dancers were able to hold these very difficult emotions of grief, anger, sorrow, and transmute them through dance. I was a dancer. I identify myself as a dancer, but I had never really seen a form that I could relate to, that could speak, could express what was happening inside me. And this was the form. And also, having grown up in Iran and facing how becoming a woman was such a challenge, you had to hide yourself, you had to, there were just so many burdens on becoming a woman. And here was a strong woman who could hold her dignity and her sexuality with nobility, that really appealed to me. And also, you know, flamenco is the expression of gypsies or Roma, um, people who had to move around who and adapt to new environments as outsiders. And this was exactly what I was, an outsider. We were referred to as aliens, um, and so that's why it spoke to me so beautifully. And it is a hybrid form. It's a form that takes from Indian dances and Middle Eastern and Eastern Europe and Africa, and then lands in Spain with all of this influence.
You spoke about how Dance of Oneness has these three different rivers that come into it, the dance forms, the wisdom teachings, and then also the healing component. And I wonder if you can say more about the healing component. Here you're talking about the grief and anger you felt, and that the dance gave you a way to be with that, experience it, express it. What other kinds of healing have you found and that you offer people through Dance of Oneness?
So one avenue, one great avenue that's central to the work is becoming aware of the pathway of energy in the meridians. So a lot of the movement that I have created and teach people is about the movement of energy in the meridians, so that we can become, so we can create a very even circulation of energy and balance the yin yang in the body. So that's very central. Another is working with the chakras, coming in touch with the seven chakras in the body and the eighth one above the head, and being aware of the teachings of these chakras, embodying the teachings, as well as coming in touch with where we are blocked and what could be the reason. You know, so many of us have issues with the first and second chakras. So bringing attention to these places and doing movement that is about releasing them, releasing the tension, and embodying ourselves more fully in these areas. so that the energy can flow up and down unobstructedly.
You mentioned the eighth chakra above the head, and one of the things that I read in describing the dervish practice, you wrote about how when you're doing the practice, if I understand correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you're both inside the body and in your experience fully, but you're also above witnessing yourself in the dance. And I thought that's really interesting. So I wonder if that relates to some kind of opening to receive divine grace in some form.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So both the seventh chakra and the eighth chakra being the soul star chakra, puts us in touch with this the invitation to be also a witness. And this I also learned from the art of choreography. Because when you're choreographing for a group, you're always kind of putting the movement together, but you're also seeing it from the outside. So it taught me how to sort of split my attention that way. And I feel that it is very useful and beneficial for us to be able to do that.
And you mentioned that blocks people might find, particularly you were referencing here in the first and second energy centers in the body. I wonder if you could give me an example and how I might work through a type of block that I discover using the Dance of Oneness approach.
Let's say the block in chakra 2, which generally stems from not being entirely comfortable with our sexuality. As sexuality has been associated with shame for such a long time, for centuries, really. So to come in touch with that and to be able to release that shame in a way that is lasting is very important. And so much of this releasing, aside from the focus that we need to bring to it, can also happen through movement, through, for example, the infinity pattern, the figure eight, moving with the infinity pattern in our hips, not only to balance the yin yang sides, the masculine and feminine sides of ourselves, but also to gradually uh, send this message to our body that this part of my body is actually sacred, and this bringing this sacred pattern, this infinity symbol, really sends that message to the body and the being. It's there's something that it is communicated just through the movement itself. It doesn't even have to be a thought, and doing that enough helps us get comfortable with our sexuality, our sensuality, and be able to just be able to express our sensuality with ease.
Now, I know that you dance as a personal spiritual practice. You train people in how to do this, but you're also a performer. You're a performer on stage. And I wonder when you write, what matters most to me is not how I can impress or how great I can appear, but what seeks to move through me. What about when you're performing? Do you have an awareness of how people are seeing you? And maybe you're not trying to impress them, but you're certainly aware that they're observing you. I mean, how do you stay in a place of deep inner authenticity and connection in the midst of a performance?
I see performance as the opportunity to stay present, to stay open to the energy that wants to move through me, and observe to what degree am I interested in how I'm being perceived. It's possible that maybe when I start out, I'm interested in how I'm going to be perceived, but that just falls away because my main interest is exactly what can move through me, and can I actually, in front of all these people, let go of my own thinking and go into a trance state. And that has actually happened for me almost every time. Every time I perform, it is that. I think it's also this strong feeling of having observed so many dancers aiming to please, and always thinking, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm interested in that. I think that's too small, too small. And I feel also it is partly the influence of flamenco as well, that the dancer is so sovereign in her own energy that they, at least they act like or appear like, I don't care how you are seeing me. This is what I'm doing. So I think that these all play a part in my experience, but definitely less interested in how I'm perceived than what can move through
You
me.
have this use of language that I really liked: 100% present and grounded, and 100% surrendered, both fully present and fully gone. I think that was the phrase I really liked: fully present and fully gone. Tell me more about that combination.
That's the combination I'm interested in. I'm not interested in only one side or the other, but how they can meet, which is, not that easy really, because you can completely let go and then you fall or whatever happens to you, and that's not so hard in a way if you're, let's say you're doing just freestyle dance and you just let go and this happens, you fall. And the other side, complete groundedness, presence, discipline, many dance forms teach us that, and many dancers perform that way, completely in control of what they're doing. I'm not interested in being in control of what I'm doing entirely because I want to be danced. I want this other energy to move through me. And if I'm held and controlled, that can never happen. And then if I'm on the other side, then there's that tension doesn't exist between being here and being gone. I love that polarity. It's a very exciting place to be in. And just to make that more clear for your listeners, imagine turning really fast and with a lot of passion and going, and then being able to stop and being very grounded. So no faltering, just boom, fully grounded and present. There's an excitement
How
in
do
that.
you think how do you think that could possibly, that dance experience can be applied in your everyday life, if you think it can be?
I think it absolutely can be. Um, a lot of times you hear in spiritual circles, just let go and let God, if you will. Or you have people who don't believe in anything beyond ourselves, just focusing and emphasizing human volition and choice and will. But letting these two come together, understanding that we do have free will. There is the greater divine energy, but this greater divine energy loves us so much that the energy gives us free will. And your will, every single one of us, our choices, what we think, what we say, what we do matters. So marrying these two, not putting too much emphasis on one side or the other, but how can they come together?
Could you give me an example in your own life in an application format where you've had to bring these two together, or seen yourself bringing them together, or didn't and wanted to and then redid it?
Well, one of them is speaking very, being very vocal about what is happening in Iran, for example. I know that some people say it's don't be political. Politics is way complicated. We don't really know what is happening, and don't turn on the news, but really just pray and send good energy, send the positive energy, the uplifting energy. And I believe in that absolutely, but I also believe in looking at the news and being aware of what is happening so that we're not turning away from reality, but really building our capacity to meet it in a way that can actually affect change. I go to protests and I am vocal, And I also believe that those kinds of things can work. And at the same time, I pray and I meditate and I hold the vision of a great outcome for my country and for the world, as little bloodshed as possible of the innocent people. I hold both. And I feel like that is an example of 100% present and 100% gone. So not putting all our energy in one area, but both, holding both.
It's a beautiful example. Thank you. You mentioned that during this period in time, you feel a lot of heartbreak. And one of the healing aspects of the Dance of Oneness that you write about is the healing of the heart, specifically through the Dance of Oneness. And that includes discovering if we have parts of our heart that are armored in some way and how to work with that armor we might be carrying. And I wonder if you can share more about that, and specifically to someone who is experiencing some version of heartbreak and or heart armoring at this time.
Yes. Well, heartbreak always can lead to the opening of the heart, right? Instead of the heart shattering into pieces, it can be shattered open. And my hope is that all of us who are feeling this heartbreak in this moment, it is an opening to more compassion, opening to more light coming through us. And the question of armoring, we wear armors. I've discovered that we wear armors in different parts of our body. And I became aware of this by observing myself and realizing that I wear armor around my hips. Um, But one of the toughest armors that I've noticed people wear is around the heart. And it is from experiencing heartache, whether it's from a romantic situation or from just living life. What happens is then we start to protect ourselves, the, the chest starts to contract, and the upper back actually starts to round, and there's no movement. So a lot of the movement that I teach has to do with really focusing on moving the chest and opening the energy of the heart. And many people are so rigid in this area that they can't move at all. And they're actually quite shocked because they had never even thought about, okay, let me isolate movement in my chest, in my heart center. And then they realize they're completely rigid, and it's from that protection, from the protection that we do after being heartbroken. So the invitation is, can you stay open and experience the heartbreak? Because there is a reason. There is a reason this is happening, and it's only bringing you into greater wholeness, into a greater version of yourself. But it's important that this opening be grounded and centered, so that we're rooted in the earth and centered in our dantian, in our core. And from there, allowing this pain in our heart to be felt. That's the only way we can heal, is to acknowledge it, to move through it.
Banafsheh, I'd love to bring alive some of the experiential teachings that you offer in Dance of Oneness in the book. And I wonder if you could take us into something here. I'm going to let you choose which inner exercise you might think is appropriate for this moment and a broad listenership.
So a practice that people can do right now.
We're going to do it right here with you, right now.
Right here. What comes to me, and this is always what I start with, is sense the ground with your feet. Really putting both feet on the ground and letting yourself come into a sensation of the earth in the soles of your feet. and feeling love for the earth as your feet are touching the earth. And from there, to really release your weight onto the chair, whatever you're sitting on, and then to come in touch with your breath, to take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your nose, releasing your weight even further down, sensing the ground with your feet. And you can now close your eyes. Continue breathing in this way. Take a deep breath in. Your hands onto your belly as you inhale, expanding your belly into your hands. And as you slowly exhale, release your weight down even more onto what you're sitting on. And pause before your next inhale. And just hang out in this moment between breaths. And take your next breath. Inhale, expand from your lower belly into your greater abdomen, into your heart center. Letting your weight move, your breath move into your shoulders. And as you exhale, relax. Area between your shoulders, your middle back, your low back. Releasing your weight onto your chair even more. Stillness. Pause before the next breath. And take that next breath, inhaling, expanding from your lower belly into your whole torso, into your neck, and also breathe into your face. And as you exhale, relax the top of your head, your forehead, your eyes, your temples, your jaw. Flow with your breath and relax your shoulders. Fill up the volume of your arms, your hands. Relax your upper back, middle back, lower back. As you're flowing with your breath, and fill up the volume of your hips. Come alive in your legs. Sense your feet. And your roots in the earth. Let your roots descend into the depths of the earth. And take one more deep breath. Let's take that deep breath in together. Sense that you're breathing with your whole body now. Bringing in the precious life force. And as you exhale, slowly relaxing, releasing. Feel gratitude for being here in this glorious temple of your body in this moment in time. Continue flowing with your breath. And one more deep breath in. And with your exhalation, open your eyes. Being present, being here now.
Thank you. Banafsheh. Your voice is a terrific conduit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for receiving.
You write, perfection isn't in flawless execution, but in presence, devotion, and courage. Tell me more about the devotion and courage part and what that means to you personally in your life right now.
Devotion to what I truly love, which is creating a world where all beings can live in harmony, people, animals, all Earth community, contributing to that. That's devotion to me. Letting our awareness expand to realizing that this is heaven. We are in heaven. And the courage to stand for that, the courage to not be pulled in one direction or the other. We have so many polarizing, divisive voices, and each side is quite convincing. But how can I keep that my devotion and let that be my guiding force, the guiding power? Harmony and peace between all beings, and how to achieve that. And I feel one important way to achieve that is to become embodied, to really be present in this temple that is a gift from the divine.
The subtitle of the book, Dance of Oneness, Embody Love and Luminosity to Transform Your Life. Tell me more about luminosity.
Luminosity is very key for me. So what we aim for in the dance and Dance of Oneness is to open our channel so we can be conduits of light, rays of the sun of love. So luminosity, to come in touch with your body as light filled and just a being of light is very central to this work, central to what I've been guided to create.
Now, it's interesting that you said conduits for the rays of the heart, the rays of the sun. What do you feel internally in your own subtle anatomy of the connection between the heart and the sun?
So I love this question because one clear guidance is from the Persian language and also just the ancient Iranian belief, which is expressed through the Mithraic tradition. And in the Mithraic tradition, which we refer to as Mehr is the sun. It is also love, and so it's that direct connection that the sun of love can emanate from your own heart. That the true sun lives also in your heart.
Banafsheh, I'm wondering if we could end with some kind of prayer that you could offer, if I dare say, a type of oneness prayer, dance of oneness prayer for this moment in time.
Yes, yes. What I pray for is that inside our glorious, glowing, luminous heart, each one of us can expand this luminosity and connect this luminosity with one another. Connect the luminosity of our hearts and wrap this glowing circle of light around our beautiful planet. And send this light to wherever it is needed wherever the light of love is needed, so that all who can will remember their essence, their true essence as love, as messengers of love. And especially that this light, the power of this light, the power of this light of love can melt the heart of aggressors. So that finally we realize there's only one flesh we can wound, for we are all one.
Thank you, Banafsheh Sayyad, master Iranian sacred dancer and author of the new Sounds True book, Dance of Oneness, Embody Love and Luminosity. Thank you so much,
Thank
Banafsheh.
you. Thank you, Tami.
Many blessings.
Blessings
Thank you.
to you.